November 4, X-ray, Yankee, Charlie.
Roger, Roger, and the name, please?
Roger, Roger, and the name, please? Good afternoon, Jim. The name is John. I'm in Cleveland, Tennessee, which is just on the outskirts of Chattanooga.
Roger, John, and what radio are you running, sir?
Roger, John, and what radio are you running, sir? I'm running the ICOM 7300 with a Ameritron amp, and my power output is about 200 to 250 watts. Over.
Roger, Roger. And you are in Foreland, Roger?
You are in Foreland, Roger? I'm in Foreland. I'm on the outskirts of Chattanooga, and I'm running a G5RV antenna and an ICOM 7300, and I'm running the smallest, least expensive HAL headset. It's called a Pro Micro, and it has the HAL element, the IC element in it. Over.
Oh, Roger that. Okay, why don't you give me about 15 seconds and tell me about your antenna system. Let me listen to your audio, Roger.
Let me listen to your audio, Roger. Okay, I've been out of amateur radio for approximately 10 years, and I just recently retired, and I got back in and got my ham station set back up, and I try to run about 50% ALC. I run 1% of compression, and let's see what my mic gain is on. I have to have a magnifying glass. Okay, I'm running about 55% mic gain, and I'm running about 50% RF power. Over.
Roger that. And you're running half power to make your amp work the way you want it to?
Make your amp work the way you want it to? That's correct.
Roger. Okay. Well, let's look at that compressor there. If it has a 1 to 10 input level, we want it on a 3. If it's a 1 to 100 input level, we want it on a 30. So we just want about a third of its capabilities. A 3 out of 10, 30 out of 100. Roger?
10, 30 out of 100. Roger? Okay. I had it on 1, and now I'm turning it up to 3. And I guess the main reason that I'm contacting you is that I get good reports on 75. I get good reports on 20. But I get a lot of complaints here on 40 that people complain that I'm too wide.
You're running a 7300, and your ALC is running mid-scale to 2/3. Is that a Roger?
It's running mid-scale to 2/3. Is that a Roger? Yes, that's correct.
All right, and what kind of, are you giving them like a 20 over or 30 over? Have they ever decided to think about antenna attenuation? You know, you can't, when you get 20 over on a radio, you need to take some action there. I run consistently with antenna attenuate just to avoid overloads. Roger?
To avoid overloads, Roger. Okay.
So, the question back to them would be, what kind of level am I giving you? If I'm giving you a 20, you might consider, running antenna attenuate, But normally 7300 is extremely good about not overexceeding the 3 KC mark or 2900 mark, Roger?
2900 mark, Roger. Okay, well, should I switch to a mid? Should I change the bandwidth to mid?
I think you need to change folks that are listening to you. I've never heard of that problem on a 7300. So I don't know what to advise you. You could do that, but it's a shame. I recommend that 7300 run 100 to 2900. That's the beauty about that radio, and as long as you stay, But again, when you're running a third of that compressor, what it's doing, it's also helping your ALC avoid real hard peaks, because it will compress those peaks off the bat, right out of the box, so to speak, before it gets to the ALC. So that's why I recommend, one of the things and reasons I recommend that, and I recommend the internal processor, the internal compression. Because I know what that does, and I know what a 3 on that ALC does. I'm not familiar with your outboard stuff, but I would suggest that what was the reason, could I ask, that you might have been using outboard equipment on the 7300?
Outboard equipment on the 7300.
Yeah, John, are you there?
I don't run any outboard. I'm just running the ICOM 7300, and I'm running a Heil headset and an Ameritron amplifier at about 200 watts, just enough to give me a little bit of kick. So, yeah, that was the other guy. I think you're confused. He was running that Russian board, EQ board, and I'm not running any of that. And by the way, my EQ is, I think, +3 on the treble and 0 on the bass. Over.
Yeah, so your EQ pattern is just very nice. I wouldn't change a thing about that. So you're running all internal stuff. You have nothing outboard, Roger?
You have nothing outboard, Roger? No, nothing at all. Nothing at all, Jim.
Roger. Well, that 7300 is just totally it doesn't need any outside stuff. It is beautiful. So you run that compressor at a 3, and run your AOC mid-scale to 2/3, and I don't think you're going to have a problem. And if you do, ask them if if it's a 20 over signal that they're receiving, and that they might consider antenna attenuate, Roger.
Antenna attenuate, Roger. Okay. Well, I'm in a really good spot here. My lot is about 150 feet elevated over a city park that has a lot of water features, a couple of creeks and some swamp, and I believe that really G5 RV that's at about 50 feet. Okay, well, I'm sure there's others that want to get in here and say good afternoon to you. So 73 Jim, and enjoyed visiting with you, and you're 5x5 into Chattanooga from the Louisville area. So good afternoon, N4XYC.
Roger, John. Now I've just gone to my local antenna. You're about 40 over. My local receivers, good down to 100 cycles. So what I would like would be to extend this just a little bit longer. If you might have a nice 20 or 30-second radio story or minute radio story to give us since you're sounding so good.
Well, sure, Jim. 4/27/11, we had 5 tornadoes in my town in one day, and the winds took down all my antennas, and I really kind of got out of amateur radio for 10 years, and I retired, and I got back. I started looking for something to do as a hobby, and we had my ham shack, which I had a custom-built ham shack here, and we had it all stuffed full of Christmas decorations and various things. So I started cleaning it out, and I've been on the air for about a year now. And anyway, I'm really loving amateur radio this time, and I always ran Kenwoods. This is my first ICOM, but I'm sold. I'll never go back. N4XYC.
Roger, John. Sounds good. Thanks for the story. And you're, like I say, I've been looking at your EQ pattern. I can see it a lot plainer now on my local receiver. And you're wall to wall. You're down to 125 cycles, and up, at the upper end where you should be. So just you have a very broad audio signal, Roger.
Okay. Well, the wife has the possum in the stove, in the oven, so. She says it's about time for the chow hall to open, so I'm going to head that way, okay?
Yes, sir. Have some from me. 73, John. Have a good afternoon and a great weekend. This is the Friday afternoon QSO-VLOG net. We are currently, recording now live till 5. So if you have a radio you want to check out, give me a shout.